Well, welcome to the Cutting Edge Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Phillips, and today I have the pleasure of talking to Danny Donahue. Danny is the brand manager of shower door hardware at Laurence. Hey, thanks, Danny, for coming on the podcast today.
It is my pleasure, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
So now you're in Los Angeles, right?
I am, yeah.
So did you grow up in L.A.?
I did. Well, not in L.A. I'm a native Southern Californian, and I grew up primarily in Orange County. I was born in Torrance and lived in Fountain Valley till a young age, but really my memory really kicks in when I moved to South Orange County. I lived in San Juan Capistrano and Dana Point. I went to Dana Hills High School. I'm a Dolphin. We're the Dana Hills Dolphins of all things. Well, I guess that's what happens when you live somewhat close to the ocean there. Didn't really realize how good I had it as far as, living in South Orange County in my formative years until I got a little older. Then I could step back and really appreciate, wow, I was really fortunate to be able to grow up where I grew up. So, and one other thing about that area, it's a little bit affluent, got a little bit of money, much like your Northern California area up there along the coast. And that's kind of where a lot of frameless shower doors kind of began in the rumblings of it, 30 years ago or 25 years ago, when they sort of started showing up in these multi-million-dollar homes that are along the beaches.
So then did your job at CRL, is that what brought you to L.A.?
That's what brought me to L.A., exactly. Just to give you a brief history, I started in the glass business in 1986, and I worked at a full-service residential glazing company in South Orange County called Capistrano Valley Glass and Mirror, and started installing showers shortly after I started there. I mean, we did everything. We did mirrors. We did a little bit of storefront, not a whole lot of storefront, but mirrors, showers, wardrobe doors, glass for hack outs for like new developments. When somebody break a window, we go out and fix it, that kind of thing. So it's a real residential glass kind of place. And shortly after I started there, I started working on shower doors, and they were the integrated shower doors, like Workrite shower doors were the ones that we were distributors of. So I learned to put in stick stalls, fabricating all the metal myself, and measuring it and doing the glass sizes, installing it, and putting these stick stalls in million-dollar homes, because that's all that there was available. Frameless shower doors hadn't really come out yet. And then about maybe 5 years into my tenure at the place, so maybe like 1990, 90-ish, we started seeing these hinges coming across that were for all frameless glass, and boy, those started catching on really well. And I worked at Capistrano Valley Glass until 1997, so 11 years in the field installing frameless shower doors, installed hundreds of them. And from that point, I moved to Laurence. And the reason for that is due to the fact that I was getting ready to go start my own business. I was going to leave Capistrano Valley Glass and do my own business like so many people do when they think, hey, I know how to do this, why don't I do it for myself? And I was speaking with my contact here at Laurence, a gentleman named Brad Murphy, who was at the company for about 25 years, retired a couple of years ago. I was speaking with Brad Murphy and saying, hey, I'm going to go somewhere else. And he said, have you ever thought of coming to work at Laurence? I said, of course not. Why would I think of coming to work at Laurence? What would I do there? And he said there may be a position open for a guy like me who has technical knowledge about frameless shower doors. And the idea was, back in the dark ages here in 1996, was if you teach people how to put in frameless shower doors and explain to them that it's not that difficult, then you're going to get more business, and people will start putting them in more, and they'll buy our hardware. And that was the model that we followed back then and continue to follow today.
So back when you started installing shower enclosures, not getting it in kits like we do now, but actually just getting the raw materials and cutting it up.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, we did get standard tub kits, when it came to sliding shower door kits, different heights, different widths that were stock kits. But yeah, for our stick stall shower doors, everybody wanted something custom. There was a standard height of, gosh, I don't even know why I know this, but 66 and 5/8. That was just a standard height for a door, and everybody wanted doors bigger than that. That was just a really small door. So yes, we got all the sticks, all the stock lengths of all the components that it takes to make up the Workrite shower door. Workrite no longer in business. And yeah, I was the metal fabricator. Had the big long bench set up where I had my saw in the middle of it, everything all nice and straight, and just would knock it out and make my own doors. Yes.
You talk about a lot of work. I mean, putting together one of those enclosures is like twice the work of doing a frameless enclosure, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, you had to cut the jambs, and you had to cut the part that gets glazed onto the door, and then you have to glaze the door and put the bottom rail on. And there was so much metal. There was so much to cut. If you were doing just like a door and an inline panel, let's just say, like a 60-inch wide by 80-inch tall, something like that, you probably had to cut 8 or 10 pieces of metal. With the frameless shower door, you're cutting either no metal and using clamps, or just cutting a couple of sticks of U-channel, and that's that. Yeah, it was so much more forgiving, however. When you've got deep channels that are, an inch deep, boy, you don't have to cut some glass out of square, and you've got a lot of margin for error where you can sort of foul up and still be covered. Once it came to the whole frameless shower situation, as we all know, measurements are everything. You can have the best installer in the world who can do just about miracles, but if the opening is measured wrong, he has no chance to make that work. Or you can have something that was measured thoughtfully, and an average glazer could go out and probably have success installing that, because the things are going to fit in the opening, ultimately. So, yeah, measuring and figuring glass sizes and all that, it was just everything for frameless shower doors, and still remains that way. And it was right up my alley for whatever reason, and I took to it and flourished.
So you were around when this frameless hardware started to get introduced into the U.S. market. And so because of that, you were a good candidate to CRL to help them.
Oh, that's exactly what they thought. It was the vision of the previous owner here, Don Freeze, the founder of Laurence, really. The idea of, if we teach people how to use these things and not to be afraid of them, they're going to have success with them, and they're going to continue to install them, and it sort of just blooms, you know what I mean to say? And that certainly has occurred. I don't know how much we had to do with it. I mean, CRL was the first company to publish a frameless shower door guide, and still the only one, as far as I know, that just kind of gives you the ins and outs on how to measure, how to install, and how to do glass sizes and all that kind of business. And we put it in print, and we wanted to be on the front edge of it, and I think that we remain on the front edge of it. We've got our Showers Online glass sizing program that has been around now for, it's hard to even believe, but it's been around for 20 years. I've been at CR Laurence for a little over 22 years. So that came on early in my tenure here at CRL, the Showers Online program. And, that's become an industry standard. Everybody seems to use it. A lot of people use it. A lot of big companies use it. A lot of smaller companies use it. Mom and pop use it. Everybody uses it. And, we try and stay on the leading edge of that kind of thing. It's sort of where we've made our mark in this business.
Yeah, I use Showers Online. It's not cheap, but for the value is there for sure. I mean, it's way cheaper than a bunch of bad glass, and way more affordable than hiring somebody, just to do takeoffs all the time. All in all, I mean, I recommend it to people. I haven't been using it for that long. I mean, several years, I'm sure, but there's been some changes to that program in just the time that I've used it, some real improvements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about it, because it's an online program. It's something that when an upgrade happens, it's immediate for anyone and everyone. It's not something where you have to send something out to people. I mean, long gone are those days of, let's send you a disk and you can update your system. That just doesn't, it's never worked that way. We've always hosted it. And, it's one of those things, you said it's a little expensive, and it is, depending on what you do. When you're a company that, that installs 50 of them a week, then it's the best thing you've ever seen in your life, and it costs almost nothing. If you're installing 10 a month, well, then it's a little more expensive. But it's all a matter of perspective, and we have hundreds and hundreds of users, and we've had millions and millions of structures made in that program, and it's solid. It's a real solid program, and we're real proud of it. And, I'm proud of my role in helping to bring it to the public. When it was first introduced to us, it was done in a manner that if you wanted to put in out of plumb and out of level conditions, you had to have a good understanding of the XY axis and how to enter figures in that manner. But I said, this isn't going to fly. So after about 10 months of design development, the programmer and I came up with something that we introduced right at the beginning of the year in 2001. And, we've done nothing but improve it since then. And, we're real proud of it.
Well, one thing that I love about the software is just the engineering aspect of how it works. Those people who don't use Showers Online, one of the features is that it will automatically figure, like the number of hinges you need on a door based on, its size and weight. And it will give you warnings, and it'll tell you, well, we don't recommend that you do this. Basically, I'm kind of paraphrasing, how it says it, but it's like, we don't recommend that you do this. And then there are some things that it just won't let you save the enclosure if you try to do it. It's just, I guess, far enough outside of what's workable. And it's just like, no, we're just not going to let you save it. So there's a lot of confidence I get when I'm putting together an enclosure on Showers Online of knowing, okay, well, I have confidence that this is engineered properly.
Exactly. That's one of the many features. You bring up a good point. Some of the warnings are what we call fatal warnings, which means you cannot save the structure because, let's say you want to put a 50-inch wide door on 2 hinges or something like that. There isn't there's not a hinge out there that's going to handle that, so it tells you, no, you're not saving this. But then there are also serious warnings where it says, hey, you really shouldn't do this, but if you want to do this, you can still save it. And you hit OK, and we've done our due diligence of telling you, look, we don't think this is a good idea, but if this is what you're going to choose to do, this is what you're going to choose to do. There's a line drawn as to something that is just, no, we won't abide by this, as opposed to, well, from an installation point of view, if you want to do this, it's on you. We had to give users the autonomy to do that. Otherwise, if we were so rigid with all of our rules, people were saying, well, I do it a little bit differently, and, it isn't going to work for me. So we had to decide where to make them absolute and where to give the user their own choice.
Yeah, sure. And there's always things that are marginal, right? I mean, there are things that are kind of on the cusp of, this is safe, but it's not recommended.
Yeah, that's, one of the things that we did to that end is the idea of when you have a panel of glass that's adjacent to a door and it's unsupported at the top, like how wide can that panel of glass be? We made a rule in the program saying if it's 3/8 glass, it shouldn't be wider than 30. And if it's 1/2 inch glass, it shouldn't be wider than 36. Well, sometimes you'll put up a fixed panel and it's, 50 inches wide, and, we're just there to tell you, look, you're going to incur movement in that panel just by virtue of its width and its thickness of glass and that kind of business. So it's more of a warning, but you can still save the shower. We just give people information. Better to give you information and have you make your own decision than to just say nothing at all, and then you'll come back and say, well, why didn't you tell me? You know what I mean?
I didn't realize that you had such a role in helping to develop that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually, I kind of look at that as my, it's funny, when I'm digressing, when we first came up with this program, one of our IT guys turns to me and says, well, if we're getting this program, we just made a career for somebody. And that somebody turned out to be me, because I'm the administrator. I'm the one who's responsible for the program. And, I consider that almost like my legacy that, when I do retire, that, Showers Online will still be running. It doesn't need me, and I don't need it, and it'll just be out there doing what it does. And I hope it runs in perpetuity. That's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have a hand in something that's a lot bigger than me.
There's been a lot of changes at CRL. I mean, over the past 20 years or so, huh?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've seen an awful lot of things happen here. When I first started, we certainly had, I think, I want to say we had 11 service centers, and then the last 20 years now, we've gone to Europe and we've got like 30 service centers. So yeah, there's been a lot of expansion. Our previous owner really believed in just making our product available everywhere, by the buildings where he went, and he would reinvest into the company on a regular basis all the time, constantly expanding, looking at acquisitions, that kind of stuff. And it was really, truly a entrepreneurial business model that Mr. Freeze laid out. And yeah, there have been a great deal of expansion.
So what's that journey been like for you? I mean, has it been stressful? Has it been exciting?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's my work. So, you're going to get measures of both, right? I mean, just like anybody else's work, sometimes it's stressful, sometimes it's exciting, sometimes it's enjoyable. If I stand back and look at it, I just look at how we have grown the shower door business, how much of it was just a natural thing that was going to happen, how much of it was a result of how we sort of stood out to say, this is how you do things, kind of laid out rules basically, both with our great big shower door guide and our program that came on only just a couple of years later. We really tried to just grow this business, obviously for ourselves. I mean, we're in the business of doing business, but at the same time, I mean, it's obviously for everybody. I mean, it's for customers like yourselves and so many customers that I've interacted with over the years saying, boy, this, getting into frameless shower doors was the best thing I ever did for my business. I was dying doing mirrors and wardrobe doors and, just getting peanuts for doing them. So many people have told me they've then concentrated on doing frameless showers and that the margins are good. People want them and there's work and it's available and it's sort of revolutionized their business. I get a great deal of satisfaction hearing people tell me that, and speaking with longtime customers who have confided in me. You've really helped me to bring it to the next level, and your assistance has sort of guided me in being able to bring my business to to where it is now, and just hearing their tales of success and knowing that my company had a role in it, and I personally had some role in it. It's gratifying. So it's been quite a interesting set of times in these last 20-something years. But I love it, and I'm staying here. I'm going to be here for quite a while longer and continue to see what this business brings for me.
It's been quite a journey for CRL. I was talking to one of the members of the Facebook group, and he mentioned something about CRL was shipping the same day for a while, and he mentioned that had stopped. I was curious if some of these things have anything to do with tariffs or stuff that's going on.
Well, I mean, you're covering a lot of ground there, but sure, I can certainly speak to that. The willingness or the desire is a better word. The desire for us to ship a package on the same day that we receive the order is still there, and it still does happen quite often. We used to have a mechanism in place that was if you wrote something special on the order, then it had to ship on that day. It's good in stock, the order's entered before a certain time of day, so that order will ship. Well, with the growth that we have had and the way that, things have sort of, the business has increased in such a manner that we got to a point where just about every order that's coming through is saying it's got to ship today. And it became untenable. It was just impossible. So we basically went to a different system that that tells you, if the order's in stock, it should certainly ship on the day that it's placed or the next business day. And I still think that's not a bad way to go. I mean, what I say is that we did things and shipped things on the same day for so long that people got to rely on it and they got complacent about it. When you order your glass, you're waiting for maybe 4 or 5 days depending on where you are in the country, maybe a couple of weeks. What was happening is people would order their glass, wait a week, and then order their hardware. And when it didn't come in a day or two, they'd say, "Well, why isn't my hardware here?" I think it's as a sort of a model. Order your hardware when you order your glass, and you'll certainly have both by the time that you're ready to go do the job. And it's just adjusting expectations, I guess, is what it is for that.
Words of wisdom.
Yeah. Well, and as far as all that other political stuff and tariffs and stuff, I mean, obviously we're in the U.S. and we know that a number of products from any given company are going to come in from the Far East, and they're going to be imported. That's just, we like our prices nice and low in the U.S., but we don't like the idea of buying it from another country. So it's, I think that there's a perception problem there. If we were able to manufacture hinges in the U.S. and sell them at the same price, of course we would do that, and that's just not it's just not going to happen. So we get hit with these tariffs, and tariffs are certainly a disturbance along the way, but they're a temporary disturbance. That's to me a minimal influence, and I believe that it's a level playing field. Anybody who's bringing hinges in is going to be paying that. So for the time being, I think it's just a temporary issue that's going to resolve itself.
I know that sometimes a supplier may be having a problem, and we all know about this. Everybody has them from time to time. There's a glitch in the system, and I call customer service like everybody else is because there's a problem with my order, like there is with everybody else's order. And I know those people are stressed out, and I really try. I'm not always successful, but I really try to be really kind to those people and understanding, because I know they're getting yelled at by everybody else.
It's true. It's true. I mean, you don't want your customer service to be just the complaint department. You want your customer service to be what it should be, which is taking customers' orders, helping them out, helping them find product and that kind of thing. You don't want it to be when is this shipping, when is that shipping, or you guys have put me in a bad spot and all that kind of business. That's the idea is that customer service is supposed to be exactly that, helping customers out with either a new order or find the right product, that kind of thing. Not where's my stuff. And we certainly in the beginning of the year had our share of inventory issues, and in the last month or so they've been largely resolved, almost fully resolved, which is a good thing. So we all run into challenges, and it's a matter of how we respond to them that sort of dictates who we are, how we are.
Yeah, that's right. So what's next? What's the next new great thing?
Well, we have our ear to the ground, and we're looking around, and new products find us. We engineer them sometimes and completely make them up out of whole cloth sometimes. One of our more successful products that we've had not even for 2 years now, like a year and a half, is our Cambridge slider. I know that that's something that you and I talked about a little bit, and that's one of those jackpot ones. You find something like that, and it really captures the imagination, and its quality speaks to you, and its look speaks to you, and a lot of customers are really happy with it. So it's really caught on. But I would just say that in the last maybe 4 or 5 years, just sliding systems in general have just exploded with us. From our Serenity to the Essence kit and the Crescent and the new Cambridge and the Contempo. I mean, these sliding shower door kits are becoming a real often used option design wise for people. That barn door roller thing. Just people are crazy for that look right now.
Yes, and the great thing about those, especially the Cambridge, is like it's easy to install and it's fast. Those things are a real moneymaker.
Yeah, they are. Obviously it's a real high-end look, and like you said, you're just looking at mounting a couple wall brackets, putting a header in, and then putting wheels on a door, drilling in a guide. I mean, it's very simplistic. It's very simple. It's sort of a low-risk installation is what I should say. And, there's a real high reward. People are willing to pay, pretty good money for something like that. And, and if you live in an area that supports it, you're going to find a lot of business with that.
It's great because it's got that modern look. It matches a lot of the other stuff that they're doing. They're doing barn door type stuff on their closets or their garages, whatever. So it kind of blends in that way. And, the space saving aspect of it, that the door doesn't swing out into the bathroom. A lot of bathrooms are kind of small. You're right. The sliding enclosures, people are really excited about those.
Yeah, they are.
So another thing, an interesting thing that I've noticed is that if you ask customers what they want, it's less metal. Want like zero metal, all glass, and then if you can make the glass just like somehow levitate in place,
right?
That's
magic Harry Potter glass.
Yeah.
That's there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what we want. And then there's this
I know where you're going with
you
this.
do, don't I?
With this black grid stuff. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw that about, started seeing pictures of that maybe a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. And I'm like, whoa, why would anybody want this? And then I kept seeing it and seeing it and seeing it. And it's, wow, it's really caught on. It's really caught on.
It's really surprising. And I know that CRL came up with a product, an applied grid, got pre-applied tape on it. And I tried it on an Enclosure, and it turned out to look pretty good. I mean, the people were happy with it. I mean, it was like I tried to put it together a few other ways, and it was just so complicated and cost prohibitive. And I know that there are other companies who are scrambling to do something because this is a real trend.
Yeah, this is really moving on, and the product that you're referring to of mine is a PVC product. So to me, and it's doing very well. I mean, a lot of people are buying it. So I'm looking at, okay, well, what's the next thing to do here? And the next thing to do in my mind is to make it out of aluminum. And I'm currently sourcing ideas or sourcing material to develop an aluminum version. So this is an exclusive to develop an aluminum version of that, of using the flat stock and the L shapes when you've got a 90 degree, but to maintain the same look as the channel around it and all that kind of business. Just a little more sturdy version. That's being explored as we speak. So yeah, it seems like it's that trend is kind of hanging on here. So you either get on board or you get out of the way, and I don't want to get out of the way of this, so I'm going to get on board. Yeah,
that's it. And it's funny because like people either love it or hate it.
It looks like an old school prison with that black grid like that, But yeah, the people who love it really love it, and it has that real sort of industrial revolution kind of look to it, from like the early 1900s, true divided light kind of thing. Obviously it's mimicking that, but from standing back at it, it looks like divided lights, of course. So yeah, it's a specific look, and it's really caught on, and it's all over the internet. So yeah, you gotta see these things. You gotta try and catch lightning in a bottle. We were really early to the game about 8 years ago, maybe even a little longer, when brushed bronze first came out. Kohler introduced brushed bronze as a fixture finish, and we said, wow, I'm getting a lot of requests for this brushed bronze. So we decided, okay, we're going to make that one of our finishes, and we're reaping the rewards of that now because it's still around, it's still doing very well. It's become one of my top 6 finishes. So yeah, it's it's hard to decide which one to put your money on because these faucet manufacturers, it's their business to make new things. You can't just sit there and rest on your laurels and say everyone's always going to buy chrome and they're going to buy, brushed nickel. They come up with these new finishes and new colors and it's always a question of, well, is this the one that we're going to need to match and go to the market with? 3 years ago, that was what? Matte black. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got matte black now, and it's like that was another one. You saw the wave coming in. You know what I mean? I'll put it into ocean terms because I'm sure both you and I have done our fair share of body surfing anyway. So you see the swell coming at you, and it's like matte black, and it's for real. And that's become, I think, my number 4 finish right now is matte black. And that's just in a period of 3 years.
Yeah, that has become really popular out here in my area too. So, what do you do for fun? Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna pull out the old spend time with the family and all that kind of stuff. Sure, of course. But my real passion, honestly, is music. I've been playing guitar and singing since I've been about 14 was when I first got my guitar. And I'm one of those guys, now I'm dating myself. I'm 55 years old. So I grew up in my 20s in the 1980s. So, I was into playing like hard rock metal. I was in bands, all my life into my mid-20s, playing, original songs or playing copy songs of like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That was what I was into. And now, obviously, many years later, and I just play acoustic stuff, and I have a little home recording kind of studio that I'll play multiple tracks and sing multiple tracks and just kind of entertain myself that way. So I love doing that.
We have that in common. I started playing guitar when I was a teenager. I was kind of short, so I never got picked for the football teams or whatever. So
right.
In order to meet girls, I had to learn how to play guitar, and it was very effective.
Yeah, it is. That's certainly something most anyone in a band will say, well, I kind of got started because I wanted to meet girls, you know what I mean? And, honestly, I knew from a very early age that I enjoyed attention. Even to this day, here at CRL and stuff, I've done public speaking many times at trade shows. I've done them for sales conferences and that kind of stuff. I like being in front of people. To me, it gives me a platform to be able to perform. And that's what music was for me. In my formative years, I saw Kiss, and I'm just like, oh my God, look at this. I want to be those guys. You know what I mean? That's what got me starting to want to play guitar when I was 13 and got a guitar when I was 14. So it was just the need to be on stage, I think. And, there's still a part of me that really still enjoys that.
Danny Donahue, thanks so much for spending some time talking today. It was really cool getting to know you a little bit better.
Well, it was truly my pleasure, Chris, and I'll look forward to seeing you in Atlanta at the Glass Build show. It's in September, and anyone who can go, I think they would get a lot out of it to go to a national show and see what's going on in their business. It's one of those things. Not everybody makes it out there, but boy, if you can, I think you'll get something out of it. And it's been a real pleasure, speaking with you, and look forward to speaking with you again.